In advance of legacy media's new tone stories, let's make something perfectly clear. Donald Trump continues to be exactly the same small, vindictive man that he always was. He took to Truth Social to attack a bishop who committed the crime of imploring him to show empathy to immigrants and children, writing, "The so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal migrants that came into our country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It is a giant crime wave that's taking place in the USA. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was a very boring and uninspiring one. She is not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology." Now, before we go any further, you might be thinking, wow, this bishop must have really overstepped. Yeah, here's what she actually said. And if you've seen this already, feel free to skip ahead.
"In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat-packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people in this nation and the world. Amen.
Man, how dare this bishop beg for mercy for their frightened children who are afraid their parents might be taken away. Yeah, thank God there are good Christians like Donald Trump who are able to push back against this dangerous ideology like protecting children. And look, as a secular Jew, this isn't exactly my lane, but I feel comfortable enough saying that if you are a Christian and you are offended because a powerful billionaire is throwing a temper tantrum when he's asked to show mercy for frightened children, then perhaps you have a fundamental misunderstanding of your religion. And in fact, Bishop Buddy was asked to explain her rationale for exactly that, and here's what she had to say.
My responsibility that morning, yesterday morning, was to reflect, to pray with the nation for unity. And as I was pondering what are the foundations of unity, I wanted to emphasize respecting the honor and dignity of every human being, basic honesty and humility. And then I also realized that that unity requires a certain degree of mercy and compassion and understanding. And so knowing that a lot of people, as I said, in our country right now are really scared, I wanted to take the opportunity in the context of that service for unity to say we need to treat everyone with dignity, and we need to be merciful. And I was trying to counter the narrative that is so divisive and polarizing, and in which real people are being harmed.
So if you can listen to that and listen to Trump's attacks against her and think that she is the one who's not serving Christianity, it is time for a long, hard look in the mirror. And in fact, a hard look in the mirror would probably serve the Republican conference well, who of course fell in line behind Donald Trump and began the day attacking a bishop because something party of Christian values. Fox's Brit Hume said she doubtless thought she was speaking truth to power. She was almost certainly chasing more people out of the dying Episcopal Church. I went to school on those grounds and graduated in a ceremony in that cathedral. I hate to see this. Congressman Mike Collins wrote, this person giving a sermon should be added to the deportation list. Just so that I understand, this is a Republican congressman calling for an American, New Jersey-born bishop to be deported because he doesn't like that she exercised her First Amendment right by delivering a sermon in accordance with her faith, imploring Trump to show empathy to people? Just making sure we're on the same page here. Here's Congresswoman Lisa McClain.
Yesterday, at the National Prayer Service, the bishop was extreme in her views, extremely out of line and out of touch. And what she did was uncalled for. Perhaps we should pray for her.
The bishop was extreme in her views. I'd challenge Congresswoman McClain to explain which part of her views were extreme. You all watched Bishop Buddy's comments just a moment ago in this very video. What was the extreme part? Asking for mercy for vulnerable communities? Looking out for children? Here's the answer. The extreme part, as far as Republicans are concerned, is that anyone would dare challenge dear leader Donald Trump. That's it. This party exists to pray at his altar. For them, Trump is their deity. And so the conflict here is that someone would preach the word of God, while Republicans want to serve the word of Donald Trump. That is the problem. That is the inherent conflict. So the choice here is clear. Republicans can either follow the word of God, or they can follow the word of Trump. But they can't do both. And finally, I'll end with this. For those who still want to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt as to his Christian bona fides, do not forget that he was asked point blank to name his favorite Bible verse, an otherwise basic question, at least for anybody who purports to follow the teachings of Christ, and here's what he had to say.
Okay. You mentioned the Bible. You've been talking about how it's your favorite book, and you said, I think last night in Iowa, some people are surprised that you say that. I'm wondering what one or two of your most favorite Bible verses are,
well,
and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. You know, when I talk about the Bible, it's very personal, so I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into.
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite.
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Even to cite a verse that
no,
you like.
I don't want to do that.
You're an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal. I think it's just an incredible. The whole Bible is an incredible. I joke. Very much so. They always hold up the Art of the Deal. I say my second favorite book of all time. But I just think the Bible is just something very special.
Which brings me to my favorite verse. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.